So welcome everyone to this last talk in our Journey of the Heart Retreat. Such a gift these days of shared practice. I'd like to begin today with a poem. This is by the American poet, Ross Gay, who among his many publications has a book of poems called Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. This poem has the title, Thank You. If you find yourself half naked and barefoot in the frosty grass, hearing again the earth's great sonorous moan that says, you are the air of the now and gone, that says, all you love will turn to dust and will meet you there. Do not raise your fist. Do not raise your small voice against it. And do not take cover. Instead, curl your toes into the grass. Watch the cloud ascending from your lips. Walk through the garden's dormant splendor. Say only, thank you. Thank you. No matter what, thank you. What might it be to say only thank you? On what basis can we drop the calculus, release whatever might be extra, offer ourselves and receive the gift, the bold fact of unconditional gratitude? Giving, receiving. One reality. No basis, no equation beyond any calculation. Not a piece of ground to stand on. And that becomes the truest invitation. From the groundless ground of this practice awakening, the intimacy of this empty, infinite world. You are the air of now and gone. You are the air already gone. And not only the air you breathe, wherever you turn. Here but gone. Gone but here. What a marvel. Hogan is the master who said, not a piece of ground to stand on. And other teachings follow. A monk asked Hogan, what was the style of the ancient Buddhas? Hogan said, where can it not be completely seen? Again, a monk asked Hogan, what is the ultimate teaching of all Buddhas? Hogan said, you have it too. This is Hogan, or in Chinese, Faiyan, who went on pilgrimage and visited Master Jiso's monastery. It's a well-known story. Jiso meets Hogan at the gate and asks, "What brings you here?" "I'm on pilgrimage." That's what monks did. Pilgrimage, meaning wandering with the wind or following in the direction of my toes. Jiso asks Hogan, "What is pilgrimage?" Hogan says, "I don't know." Jiso responds, I feel like we could say this all together. Not knowing is most intimate. The record says, at these words, Hogan instantly awakened. I don't know. That's it. Can you see it? Hogan's I don't know, as in, I don't have an answer, suddenly becomes the I don't know of no knowing before knowing. A turning word landing him exactly where he is. It's snowing then. So Hogan and his companion monks stay until the weather clears. When they prepare to leave, Jiso accompanies them to the gate. As a parting word, Jiso asks, I've heard you say several times that the three realms are only mind and the myriad dharmas are only consciousness. In other words, I've heard you say the whole universe is just one mind. Bit of an equation there. Jiso points to a large rock in the garden. Just tell me, is that stone within the mind or outside the mind? Within the mind, Hogan answers. Then Jiso says, it sure will be difficult for you to travel around carrying such a big stone in your mind. That's a rough pilgrimage. Such a wonderful retort, sowing great doubt. The companion monks go on their way, but Hogan stays. He meets with Jiso every day, speaking about the way, presenting his understanding. Day after day, every time, Jiso says, it's not like that. Finally, Hogan says, I've run out of words and ideas. So ripe. Jiso says, if you want to talk about it, everything you see embodies it. Hearing this, Hogan experiences deep awakening. If you want to talk about your true nature, this essential world, the fact of who you truly are, everything you see is it. Wherever you turn, your true face, whatever you pick up, intimate, complete, empty. Today, I'd like to look at a koan that points to this one entirety and gives us a taste of the marvel that is right where you sit. This is case 4 in the Book of Equanimity, or Shoyoroku. The world honored one points to the ground. Most of you know the Book of Equanimity was compiled by Master Wanshi, or Hongxi, about the mid-12th century. Wanshi gives us the line, wander into the center of the circle of wonder. That center, exactly where you are. So Wanshi wrote a verse for each case in the Book of Equanimity, these 100 koans. And Master Bansho later added an introduction and commentary. Here is the case. The world honored one points to the ground. When the world honored one was walking with the assembly, he pointed with his hand to the ground and said, "Here would be a good place to build a temple." Indra took a blade of grass, inserted it in the ground, and said, "The temple is built." The world honored one smiled. The world honored one, clearly, is Shakyamuni Buddha. In his talk for Mountain Cloud on the eve of this retreat, Ruben Habito Roshi, said Zen is about seeing what Shakyamuni Buddha saw, what he saw and realized and embodied in his life. I suddenly remember that line from Thich Nhat Hanh. If you were given Shakyamuni Buddha's eyes, would you know how to use them? What other eyes? Ryan Roshi once said, if Shakyamuni Buddha were sitting in front of me, I feel certain I would see from the top of heaven to the bottom of the earth. One existence. In this case, Shakyamuni Buddha is out walking, surrounded by his disciples and followers. Indra is there as a guest of the Buddha, walking along beside him. The Buddha stops and points to the ground. Here is a good place to build a temple. This word, temple, 2 Chinese characters are used for it. The Japanese word is bonsatsu. Bonsatsu. The first character means pure and clear. And the second means a pure country. The word's also sometimes translated as sanctuary, this sense of inner sanctum, or what Joshu called the innermost recesses of the house. Here is a good place. That most intimate, most welcoming, most familiar place. Joshu said, the true Buddha is sitting in the innermost recesses of the house. Where else could that be? Shakyamuni Buddha points. Indra reaches down, picks up a blade of grass, and sticks it in the ground. The temple is built. Shakyamuni Buddha smiles. There it is. All of it. Temple, whole world. How is this possible? What's going on? I'm struck by how this scene mirrors the last public teaching of the Buddha there on Vulture Peak with followers, the throng gathered around. He picks up a flower, twirls it, and Kashyapa smiles. Indra picks up a piece of grass. Buddha smiles. Buddha picks up a flower. Kashyapa smiles. Call it recognition, transmission. There are not two. There's a line in the Shinjin Mei, or verses on trust and mind, that Yamana Konroshi liked to quote. He took it as the most simple and direct expression of our essential nature, of what this world really is. Direct, simple. One is all is one. That blade of grass is not just a temple. It's sun, moon, stars, billions of galaxies, this computer, this sound, each one sitting here. One is all. Raise a single blade of grass and it stands alone. everything else disappears. Fully expressed, fully included, nothing but this. You can see it. This alone. As Bancho puts it in his introduction, raise a grain of dust just slightly, and the great earth is completely contained in it. That is the great earth. One is all, is of a piece with all is one. Shakyamuni Buddha awakened to this one empty, infinite existence when, after 6.5 years of arduous practice, sitting all night under the Bodhi tree, he saw the morning star. Everything fell away. One luminous transparency, one shining shunyata, zeroness. It said, he exclaimed, from the top of the heaven to the bottom of the earth, I alone. Just one existence. The I that had been at the center of his experience, a separate point of reference, dissolved completely. The tradition calls it emptiness, but it's very dynamic. That zero is in and through everything. This one spaciousness, this one atomic goneness. Siddhartha Gautama disappeared and everything came rushing in. I and all beings simultaneously attain the way. Here but God, God but here. Whole world awakening. There's no other way. One is all. All is one. This line Shakyamuni Buddha is still practicing. Just came up. Of course, he's still practicing. There's a famous story from the Gandavya Sutra, where Manchusri, great bodhisattva of wisdom, asks the pilgrim Sudana to bring him one stalk of medicinal herb. Most of you probably know this story. Sudana searches the entire earth, this great pilgrim, near the end of his pilgrimage. He searches everywhere and he cannot find anything that is not medicine. The whole great earth is medicine. Which stalk shall I bring you? Manju says, bring one stalk. Sudana bends down, plucks one blade of grass, and hands it to him. Manchusri holds it up. And says, this one blade of grass can kill a person and it can give them life. One piece of grass, one stalk, soft, green, tender, the sharpest sword, the sword that kills and gives life. Kills all our concepts, kills our illusions, kills our sense of separation. Just what are we afraid of? The sword that kills and gives life. Really see a blade of grass and you can't survive. You disappear. And what appears? Someone asked this yesterday in the form of this question, body and mind fallen away. What do they fall away from? You disappear. And what appears? What remains? It's beyond words. One is all. All is one. This one existence, freely functioning. So free. Years ago, I was at a session in upstate New York. Ruben was teaching, and I had traveled with another member of our Sangha, a friend and fellow musician. It was a powerful retreat. And my friend, who had been sitting with Mu, long, steady sitting for a long time, experienced an opening. Knowing we had the long trip home together, Ruben invited us, so generously invited us to share our experience, just the two of us. This is not the norm. It's for you alone. But Ruben was at ease knowing us and thought it might be helpful. What a gift. One memory stands out. When this longtime student, my friend, came right up to the edge of Mu, but not quite. Maybe that little bit of fear. Ruben invited him to go outside and walk barefoot in the grass. We were at a nature preserve with a small patch of green grass on the slip of land between the house and the forest. My friend was a friend to nature, his natural habitat. A few steps into the green, earthy carpet. And his heart broke open. That last little bit of crust fallen away, all the way up. No border, no boundary, no speck remaining. One touch of grass and everything dissolved. It all dissolved. And suddenly there he was. Just this. I've mentioned my experience of, not on this order, but of just that taste early on, one step, and the whole world takes a step. Reuben had the insight, the instinct to invite him to go take one step. This place is good for building a temple, but actually already built. Of course, right there in Shakyamuni Buddha's pointing, there in his speaking, there when Indra bends down, and right here where we sit, listen, speak. Right here in this giving, receiving, this one reality. There's a teaching by Sri Nisargadatta. He's probably best known for his saying about wisdom and love. That saying, when I look inside and see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I look outside and see that I am everything, that is love. Between these two, my life turns. Beautiful. And yet, when it comes to this turning, there is no inside or outside. There's no between. And yet, here we are. Our lives turning. Nisargadatta also has another saying. You will receive everything you need when you stop asking for what you don't need. About a month ago, I met with a student who's been sitting for decades. lifetime sitting. And just recently took up Mu. Somehow in our exchange, wherever this comes from, I said, Mu can do anything. Mu can do whatever you need. Maybe that's what I said. And the student said, very still. I have no idea what I need. No knowing. Or maybe, what could I possibly need? Nothing outside this. Nothing lacking. No place to add anything. What could we add? You will receive everything you need when you stop asking for what you do not need. As the Buddha put it, stop and see. Wanchi's verse to this case begins with these lines. The boundless spring on the 100 plants, picking up what comes to hand. He uses it knowingly. Of course, it's Indra picking up a blade of grass. It's just there. Somehow he uses it knowingly. Here's the temple. Another translation turns this toward us. Taking what's at hand. Use it freely. This points to the immediacy of our life, to the magnitude of what's at hand, and to the great freedom. Infinite possibilities. And the wonder that there is anything at all. Taking what's at hand. Use it freely. Oh, I think of our world. Taking what's at hand. Use it freely. What if it's Mu? What if it's listening, sitting, standing, walking? This place is good for building a temple. One gesture, and there it is. You could also say one gesture, and it disappears. Pick up a grain of sand, and the whole world appears. Do not raise a grain of sand, and the whole world disappears. This is just one world, vast and wide. each and every part of it contains all of it. Even the word contains doesn't really hold up. Here it is. Wanchi's verse to this case ends with these lines. Everywhere life is sufficient in its way, no matter if one is as clever as others. This life, just as it is, just as you are, is utterly sufficient in its way. Utterly sufficient in your way. How can we possibly measure or compare? On what basis? Everywhere you turn, it's you. Basho comments about this temple. Repairs won't be easy. Infinitely whole, nothing to repair. As Wanchi put it, on the tips of the 100 grasses, the spring without end. Oh, I long for that wellspring to touch every corner of this world. Our practice is to see and realize and embody. Here it's called the great sufficiency, the endless sufficiency. That makes our hearts overflow with wanting to serve. It's as natural as this air we breathe. So let us rest in this endless sufficiency and find ourselves at home. Right here in this practice for which we say, thank you. Thank you.